The 35th session of the Senate in the third regular session of the 16th Congress is hereby called to order. Senator Sani Angara will lead the chamber in prayer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our Father in heaven, we praise you for your faithfulness to this nation. In your power, you have blessed us with glorious riches and abundant resources. With your presence, you have united us in times of trouble and need. As stewards of this nation, remind us that we are called to live under your authority and in service of your people. We ask for your knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, that we may discern what your will is for your people. Bless the work of our hands and set our feet on the path of righteousness. Panginoon, pinapanalangin po namin na panatilihin mo ang Pilipinas sa iyong pangangalaga. Pagkalooban mo po kami ng kapayapaan at gabayan mo po kami sa iyong katotohanan. Biyayaan mo po kami ng pagmamahal at turuan mo kami ng pagpapatawad sa isa't isa. All these we humbly ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. The Senate Choir will lead us in the singing of the Philippine National Anthem, after which they will render a song entitled, Lead Me, Lord. May I ask all our colleagues to rise for the national anthem.
Walk by me across the lonely road of every day. Take my arms and let your hand show me the way. Show the way to live inside your heart. Lead me, Lord, all my life.
You are my Lord.
though at times I rather go alone my way. Help me make the right direction, take your road. Lead me, Lord, and never leave my side. All my days, all my life.
Thank you very much to the Senate Choir for that rendition of the Philippine National Anthem and the song entitled Lead Me, Lord. The Secretary will now call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano Alan Peter Compañero S., Cayetano Pia S., Defensor Santiago, Ejercito Enrile, Escudero Estrada, Gingona, Hunasan, Lapid, Ligarda, Marcos, Usmeña, Pimentel, Poe, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar. Senate President Trilon.
15 senators are present. The Chair declares the presence of a quorum. The Majority Leader.
President, I move that we dispense with the reading of the Journal of the 34th Session, November 4, 2015, and consider the same as approved.
There's a motion that the reading of the Journal of the Session number 34 on Wednesday, November 4, 2015, Session number 34. Is there any objection to dispense with reading of the journal? Oh, is there any objection? The Chair hears none. Approved.
Mr. President, may we acknowledge some guests in the gallery. We have Mayor Lisel Domingo Vicente from Macunaco, Isabela, along with SB member Mida Fermin and the Sangguniang Bayan members. We also have Mayor Jessie Maria Bella Juan of Quirino, Isabela. I move that we acknowledge our guests, Mr. President.
The presence of our guest is made of record.
Mr. President, we have, with the consent of the Senate, I move that we consider on third reading House Bill 5842 on Social Security. Mr. President.
Consideration of the measure is in order.
Consent of the body, may we request the Secretary to read only the title of the bill without prejudice to inserting into the journal and record the whole text thereof.
Secretary will do so.
An act mandating a 2,000 pesos across the board increase in the monthly pension with corresponding adjustment of the minimum monthly pension under the Social Security System, amending for the purpose Section 12 of Republic Act Number 1161 as amended, otherwise known as the Social Security Act of 1997.
Mr. President, copies of the measure as approved on second reading were distributed to the members of the Senate last November 5, 2015, complying with the 3-day rule found under Section 26, Paragraph 2, Article 6 of the 1997 Constitution. We are thus ready to approve the measure on third reading. I ask for a roll call vote.
The Secretary will conduct the roll call vote.
Roll call vote. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano Alan Peter Compañero S., Cayetano Pia S., Defensor Santiago Ejercito Enrile Escudero.
Senator Edrilli is recognized.
Mr. President, while I agree that some people will be benefited by this measure, I would like to put on record that I vote against it because I think it is against the interest of this country. The social security system will be bankrupted by this measure, and it is going to distort the actuarial basis of our social security system, while we are going to favor present beneficiaries because of this generous grant of across the board benefit or addition to their benefits. In the end, it will be bankrupted because this is a contributory system and not a social security system guaranteed or funded by the national government. Now, I understand that the argument given is, well, let Congress or the state provide the money at that point. That is a poor statement and poor argument, Mr. President. We are leaving the future generation of Filipinos to suffer just because we want votes at this time, especially during an election year. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Enrile.
Honorable Senators Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Onasan, Lapid, Legarda, Marcos, Usmeña, Pimentel, Poe, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar. Senate President Drilon.
15 affirmative votes were cast, 1 negative vote, no abstention. House Bill 5842 is approved on third reading.
Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
The Secretary will read the reference of business.
Message from the House of Representatives. Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 21 September 2015, it passed House Number 5942 entitled an Act amending and extending for 25 years the franchise granted to Smart Communications, Inc., formerly Smart Information Technologies, Inc., under Republic Act Number 7294, entitled an Act granting Smart Information Technologies, Inc., SMART, a franchise to establish, install, maintain, lease, and operate integrated telecommunications, computer, electronic services, and stations throughout the Philippines for public, domestic, and international telecommunications and for other purposes, in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate.
Committee on Public Services.
Bills on first reading. Senate Number 2995, an act rationalizing the powers, duties, and accountabilities of the Social Security Commission, further amending for the purpose Republic Act Number 1161 as amended, otherwise known as the Social Security Law. Senator Recto.
Committee on Government Corporations and Public Enterprises, Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development.
Senate Number 2996, an act to provide for safe access in fire emergencies. Senator Defensor Santiago.
Trade, Commerce, Entrepreneurship, Public Order, and Dangerous Drugs.
Senate Number 2997, an act to prohibit the use of government funds for propaganda purposes. Senator Defensor Santiago.
Committee on Finance.
Senate Number 2998, an act amending the Civil Code, also known as Republic Act Number 386, Section 778 and 779 on succession. Senator Defensor Santiago.
Women, Children, Family Relations, Gender Equality.
Senate Number 3000, an act amending Republic Act Number 10591, otherwise known as an act providing for a comprehensive law on firearms and ammunition and providing penalties for violations thereof. Senator Paulo Benigno Bamaquino IV.
Public Order, Dangerous Drugs.
Resolutions. PS Resolution Number 1625, entitled Resolution Directing the Senate Committee on Public Services and other appropriate Senate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the alleged irregularities involved in the 18.99 billion pesos Davao Sasa Port Modernization Project under the government's public-private partnership PPP program. Senator Usmeña III.
Public Services, Public Works.
PS Resolution Number 1626, urging the proper Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation to look into the plight of the Filipino farmers, especially in the areas affected by Typhoon Lando. Senator Sani Angara.
Banks, financial institutions, currencies, agriculture, and food.
PSR number 1627, directing the Senate Committee on Public Works to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into the status of various foreign-assisted projects involving infrastructure programs and development, and to address vital issues governing their completion and implementation. Senator Marcos Jr.
Public Works.
PSR 1628, directing the Senate Committee on Education, Arts, and Culture, Local Government, and other appropriate Senate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into the declaration or delisting of national cultural treasures or important cultural property by local government units for the purpose of cultural mapping of historical sites for the protection and conservation of the nation's cultural heritage. Senator Lapid.
Education, Arts, and Culture, Local Governments.
PSR 1629, directing the appropriate Senate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on Oxford Economics' latest study that revealed alleged government losses of more than 22 billion pesos in excise and VAT revenues in 2014 due to rampant consumption of untaxed cigarettes. Senator Lapid.
Ways and Means.
PSR number 1630, directing the Senate Committee on Climate Change, Agriculture, and Food, and other appropriate Senate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into the threatened displacement of some 1 million farmers due to the El Nino phenomenon. Senator Lapid.
Climate Change, Agriculture, and Food.
PSR 1631, congratulating and commending Andres Rico Gonzalez for receiving the highest honors after garnering a perfect score in the 2015 Australian Mathematics Competition administered in the country on 4 August 2015, earning him the Peter O'Halloran Certificate. Senator Lapid.
Rules.
PSR 1632, congratulating and commending the island of Palawan for being named the world's best island by Condé Nast Traveler. Senator Lapid.
Rules.
PSR 1633, congratulating and commending Filipino educator and innovator William Moraca for being among the first awardees of the Princess Maha Chakri Award on 2 October 2015 in Bangkok, Thailand. Senator Lapid.
Rules.
PSR 1634, congratulating, commending filmmaker Brillante Mendoza for being honored by the Japan Foundation Asia Center in Tokyo International Film Festival's Crosscut Asia with a feature on 5 of his films. Senator Lapid.
Rules.
PSR number 1635, directing the proper Senate Committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the reported Laglagbala extortion scheme at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. Senator Defensor Santiago.
Public Services.
PSR number 1636, urging the Senate Committees on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, Public Services, and other appropriate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the alarming Tanimbala incidents, as it is a shameful manifestation of absence of order in transport security, with the intention that the practice be halted immediately, and that orderliness in rules and procedures be established to shield overseas workers, regular tourists, and foreign guests and their families. Senator Racepo.
Rules.
PSR,
Public Services.
PSR 1637, directing the proper Senate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation regarding reports on rampant Laglagbala into extortion modus operandi incidents in the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. Senator Maria Lourdes Nances Binay.
Public Services.
PSR 1641, directing the appropriate Senate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into the alleged extortion activities in Philippine airports, such as the Tanimbala or Laglagbala operations, with the end in view of enacting legislative measures to address the same. Senator Escudero.
Public Services.
PSR 1642, directing the Committee on Government Corporations and Public Enterprises to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation to look into the powers and mandate of the Manila International Airport Authority in light of the escalating news reports on the alleged Tanimbala or Laglagbala extortion activities within its premises, with the end in view of formulating measures, if any, to ensure the safety of flight passengers against these abuses. Senator Cynthia A. Villar.
Public Services and Government Corporations and Public Enterprises.
PSR 1643, expressing this strong sense of the Senate against what appears to be deplorable acts that are happening within the airport terminals, particularly the Tanimbala or Laglagbala modus operandi that victimizes flight passengers, especially overseas Filipino workers. Senator Cynthia A. Villar.
Committee on Public Services.
PSR number 1644, urging the proper Senate Committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation the alleged Laglagbala or Tanimbala scheme at Ninoy Aquino International Airport and major airports, with the end view of reviewing, amending, and formulating airport security policies, rules, regulations, and laws. Senator Joseph Victoria Hercito.
Public Services.
PSR number 1645, directing the proper Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into the alleged modus operandi known as Dilaglagbala or Tanimbala, allegedly perpetrated by some DOTC OTS screening officers at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, NAIA, by Senator Enrile.
Public Services.
Committee report number 287, prepared and submitted jointly by the Committees on Public Services and Finance on Senate number 2999 with Senators Trillanes IV, Joseph Victory Hercito, Defensor Santiago, and Legarda as authors thereof, entitled an act mandating the installation of speed limiters and setting speed limits for public utility buses and for other purposes, recommending its approval and substitution of Senate numbers 1133 and 2010, taking into consideration PSR number 445 and House number 5911, Sponsor Senator Joseph Victory Hercito.
Calendar for ordinary business. The Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I believe the President has called for a caucus of all members. So may we suspend for a few minutes? Is that correct, Mr. President?
Well, the Chair of the Committee on Finance has requested an all-senators caucus this afternoon in order to discuss the proposed schedule of the budget. We received this afternoon the printed copy of the proposed 2016 General Appropriations Act. Our schedule has been tightened because of the holidays that was declared from November 17 to 19, and on November 16, Monday, which is the only working day next week, a lot of security measures will be imposed around the Senate premises, and it's extremely difficult for our senators and our staff to come to the Senate. It is in this regard that the chairperson of the Committee on Finance has requested for a caucus so that we can all agree on the timeline for the General Appropriations Act of 2016. So with that, with the permission of the Chamber and upon motion of the Majority Leader, the Chair declares a suspension of the session, and we request all our colleagues to a caucus, to all senators' caucus at the lounge. So suspended. recess plan on the Monday. Wala si Senator Marcos. Sana si Senator Marcos. The session is resumed. Before we call on the majority leader, the chair wishes to spread into the record the schedule of the budget debates because we are in receipt of the additional reference of business, which now indicates that the House of Representatives, that we have received from the House of Representatives on October 9 the proposed General Appropriations Act for 2016. So for the record, we will have the following schedule as agreed during the caucus. The subcommittees, the 6 subcommittees, will have until Wednesday, November 11, to submit their subcommittee reports to the Senate, to the chair of the committee, Senator Ligarda. And on November 16, at 9 a.m., the chairperson of the Committee on Finance will sponsor the General Appropriations Act at 9 a.m. After interpellation on general principles in the morning of November 16, we will start the interpellation on the different agencies and departments in the afternoon of November 16 at 3 o'clock. We will continue the interpellation on November 23 to 25. The approval on second and third reading has been scheduled on November 26, and the bicameral conference committee is scheduled to meet on November 28 to December 1, and we will hopefully have the bicameral conference committee report approved on December 8, 2015. That is the proposed schedule that the caucus agreed upon. The minority leader is recognized.
Mr. President, I would like to put into the record that as far as the minority is concerned, we want to cooperate, but we want also at the same time to scrutinize the budget. And I hope that the majority will not apply any cloture on any of the members of the minority in this chamber when they want to ask questions during the discussion of the budget. We are dealing here with a 3 million budget, and I think, to be fair to the people of this country, we must have all the leeway to scrutinize it, to find out whether indeed the allocations of funds for each program, for each project, for each department is to the best interest of the people. For after all, it is Congress that grants the money to the executive. Under our system of government, the function of the executive is not really to tell us what they want us to do, but we must tell them what we want them to do, because we represent the people. They are the executive, the implementing body. We are the policy-making organ of the Republic, and we must perform the job in order to better serve the interest of the people. Second, Mr. President, I would like to recall to the chamber that on the day of our last session, before we went into a recess, I delivered a privileged speech here in fulfillment of my promise to the survivors of the incident in Mamasapano. and I asked for a full debate on the outcome of the inquiry made by this Senate regarding that incident. But now we have the budget, and if we are going to debate that matter in chambers, that will also constrict the time frame granted to us by the other house. In fact, I raised the question during our caucus that it is rather unfair for the House to delay the consideration of the budget in their level, knowing the events, the political, economic, and social events that are happening in the country, and then transfer the work to this chamber in such so short a time to consider it. And now that's why we are pressed for time to deal with the budget. Now, in view of this predicament, and because this representation at least would like to ask questions, which I could not do because I was incarcerated at the time the matter was being considered by the Senate. I would like instead, if the chamber would allow it, that the consideration of the matters involving the Mamasapano incident be done in committee so that it will not interfere with the consideration of the budget in chambers. And so I would like to move that we reopen the investigation of the Mamasapano so that the committee, the proper committee, will handle it, and we would proceed to ask the questions that we thought ought to have been asked in order to put a closure to this particular issue. Mr. President, there is a critical period here that must be cleared out. The whole daylight of Sunday, when the incident happened, the succeeding 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, what happened to the government? Was it functioning? Was it in paralysis? Why was there a complete silence during this period, this critical period? What happened to the entire instrument of government to maintain order in this country, to protect the people? Was there a government in those moments? We would like to get the answers to this, because if there was no government, then there's something wrong, terribly wrong, with our system of government. A government to serve the people must have no interregnum. It must function every minute, every second of the day, of the week, of the month, of the year. And all officials elected to occupy positions of power must be there to perform their jobs. To me, that is what is important, and I would like to find out whether in those moments, critical moments, where were the duly elected leaders of the country? Where were the military people, the generals, the admirals, with their stars? Were they performing their jobs? Where were the pertinent cabinet secretaries? And so I would like to reiterate, I'm moving that the consideration of the Mamasapano incident must be reopened to answer these questions that I'm positing this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Enrile. On the first issue of the cloture, we assure the minority leader that we will observe the tradition in the Senate that there will be no cloture. All the members of the Senate can ask all the questions that they need to ask from the different agencies in order that they can be clarified on any issue involved in the budget. But having said that, I would also request our colleagues to be present during the time that the particular agency on where they may have questions, they should be present during those sessions. The schedules of the different agencies to be taken up will be given out by the committee headed by Senator Ligarda on November 11 for the November 16 schedule, and on November 16 for the rest of the agencies. So I would repeat, we assure the minority leader that there will be no cloture. But having said that, we would request all the members of the Senate to be present at the time when the agencies where they have questions on will be on the floor. So with that, we will proceed on that basis. On the matter of the motion to reopen the committee hearings, may I recognize the chair of our Committee on Public Order, who submitted the committee report and who conducted the hearings, to spread into the record her position on this point. Senator Poe is recognized.
Mr. President, as chairperson of the Senate Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, I have no objection to the motion of the Minority Leader, Senator Juan Ponce Enrile, and open to the wisdom of the body on the reopening of the Mamasapano incident public hearings. This is especially with the fact that new matters and perspectives are in the possession or may be raised by Senator Ponce Enrile because of his inability to participate during the 5 public hearings we conducted in February and March of this year on the Mamasapano issue. Having said that, I would just like, however, the Senate leadership to apprise me of the effect of Section 32 of the Rules of the Senate on the reopening of the Mamasapano issue. Let it be stated that I stand by with the draft Senate committee report filed at the moment. At the same are the results of the 5 public hearings and 5 executive sessions conducted by the committees.
Can we have a 1-minute suspension to allow us to review Section 32?
Mr. President, we're ready to resume.
Session is resumed. Senator Soto is recognized.
Yes, thank you. Mr. President, I checked Section 32 again, and the point that was being asked by the chairman of the Committee on Public Orders and Dangerous Drugs. And it is very clear that when a report is returned to a committee or is transmitted to another, it says here that all previous proceedings in connection therewith shall be deemed to be void. That is her fear. But this is preceded by the phrase, unless it is returned for purposes of conducting further public hearings on new matters arising after the report. Therefore, it stands. Whatever the proceedings or the previous hearings and what transpired and conducted and the contents of the committee report, they all stand. I understand the motion of the minority leader is to conduct further hearings, and therefore it is not remanding the committee report itself, Mr. President. So I think there should not be any doubt as of the intent of Section 32, Mr. President.
Well, the Section 32, for the record, well, before we proceed, yes, Senator Pimentel.
Well, I have another reading, Mr. President. If it is returned because new matters arose after the report, then it is logical to vacate the proceedings of the previously held by the committee because there are new matters. But the motion, I heard that what we have is we're giving the minority leader the chance to ask questions. Not because there are new matters. There is a new interpellator. So, the general rule in Section 32, in my opinion, stands.
In view of the different opinions raised on this issue, the chair rules that the matter of the motion be referred to the Committee on Rules, and that an appropriate ruling, particularly on Section 32, be rendered given the different opinions on this point. Yes, the minority leader is first recognized.
I have no objection to that position of the chair, Mr. President, and therefore, in that event, I would like to say that I will call for a full debate of the issue on the floor of this matter.
Which may the chair be clarified, Senator Enrile,
I have
which issue?
I made a previous motion to expose the committee report on the Mamasapano incident to a debate. But given the appeal of the chair for time to consider the budget, I made another motion that instead of debating it here, we should refer it to the committee for further hearing in order that we can ask questions on things that were not asked during the inquiry made by the Senate. Now, if the matter now is being referred to the committee, I hope that we'll give them a timetable to resolve this issue.
All right.
So that we can dispose of this. Otherwise, I will reiterate my motion to debate
Yes.
the report here.
All right. The request of the good Senate Minority Leader is that the Committee on Rules be given a time frame
Correct.
within which to
Yes,
rule
Mr. President,
on the interpretation.
I don't like my, excuse me for interrupting, I don't want my second motion to die, to be commandeered in the Committee on Rules.
Very clear, Mr. Minority Leader. With that, is there any other view on the matter? Okay, the last pending, let me state for the record that the interpretation of Section 32 will be referred to the Committee on Rules, given the different interpretations spread into the record between Senator Soto and Senator Pimentel. We will give the Committee on Rules 1 week within which to decide on this issue, if that is sufficient. Monday next week? Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Matagal naman, Mr. President. Eh, baka
Okay,
naman
so-
pwede. If I might be able to convince my colleague, Mr. President, my ex-future Chief of Staff. Indeed, I agree when he says that there should be a new matter. Wala raw new matter. But as far as Senator Enrile is concerned, there are new matters because he is very particular about what happened in the Mamasapano between 5 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And we did not really take up much of that particular time during our public hearings. One. Second, Senator Enrile is private to some information, new to us would be new matters, because he was confined in the same hospital as the soldiers. the survivors of the support, the SAP, Mr. President.
Yes,
So it
Senator
could be new
Pimentel.
matters,
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
President.
Are you through, Senator Soto? We will now
This is
recognize
not a
Senator-
rebuttal to the manifestation of Senator Soto, but just to make it clear that we are not against, I am not against the motion. We are just interpreting what would be the effect of the, if we carry the motion, what would be the effect if the motion is carried on the committee report pursuant to Section 32. That is the discussion, Mr. President. Just to clarify,
Yes,
it's
and
not
it's-
on the substance of the
Yes.
motion.
But it is clear implication. The clear implication of the motion of Senator Pimentel is that if there is no new matter that will be is the basis of the motion to refer back to the committee, then the committee report is vacated. So it's a question of fact. Now that is why initially we had the Committee on Rules. We referred the divergent opinions to the Committee on Rules because we cannot possibly decide on a question of fact during the plenary debates. So the request of Senator Enrile is that the Committee on Rules be given a time frame within which to rule on this. And the chair is proposing that they be given until Monday to rule on the issue. If that is acceptable to everyone, then we so refer to the Committee on Rules the motion of the interpretation of Section 32, not the motion of Senator Enrile, but the interpretation of Section 32, and the Committee on Rules is given until Monday, the 16th of November, to rule on the application of Section 32.
Thank you, Mr. President. May we ask for an additional reference of business?
Secretary will read the additional reference of business.
Additional reference of business. Message from the House of Representatives. Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 9 October 2015, it passed House Number 6132 entitled an Act appropriating funds for the operation of the Government of the Republic of the Philippines from January 1 to December 31, 2016, and for other purposes, in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate.
Referred to the Committee on Finance. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, Senator Poe wishes to rise on a question of privilege. I move for recognition.
Senator Grace Poe is recognized on a question of personal privilege.
Mr. President, allow me to stand on a matter of personal privilege. The reason today is the World Adoption Day is being observed. Ito ay araw na mahalaga para sa maraming bata at maraming Pilipino na dapat bigyan kalinga, bigyan ng pangalan at bigyan ng pagkakakilanlan. Mr. President, defend the cause of the weak and fatherless, maintain the rights of the poor and oppressed. This is in Psalm 82:3. Today, the world celebrates World Adoption Day. What we do in this part of the world is our contribution to the global movement to build families. Loving and nurturing families enable children to develop to their full potential, free from fear and uncertainty. Without families, children become vulnerable. Without a father or a mother, children are placed in especially difficult circumstances. Without families, children fall prey to abuse and exploitation. The fight for equal and full rights for all orphans, abandoned children, and foundlings is not just a fight for recognition and respect. For most of them, this is a fight for survival. On this day, World Adoption Day, we salute all adoptive parents and all those who work to give orphaned and abandoned children a safe home in which to thrive. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Poe. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, there's no other business to take up. I move that we adjourn session till 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Tuesday, November 10th.
Session is adjourned until 3 o'clock of Tuesday, November 10th, 2015.